So if we come in here, I put a pink flag down right in the middle where I randomly chose an area. You can do this with anything. I mean, you can use a baseball, you can use a screwdriver, you can use whatever you have on hand. Just by looking close, you find where the disease is and randomly toss something in there. Wherever that thing lands, you put a marker down, and that's where you're going to start measuring disease incidence from. So I have this random point I picked, and I have my big ruler here. So the first thing I'm going to do is mark out a square foot plot. So I have these flags that are going to help me establish where that is. So I'm just going to throw this down somewhere around that random point I picked. So I'm going to put flags there. Right here. Remember where a foot is. Flags there. And then another one up here. So this is very makeshift on the spot. You can easily construct something with whatever materials you have to have an established, properly measured square foot area. But for the sake of, scouting on the fly, this works perfectly fine. So the next thing I'm going to do, and I won't make you sit through this, but I'm going to then count how many plants are within a 1 square foot area. After I do that, then I'm going to count how many of those plants are diseased, and then I'll explain where we go from there. So I'll be right back. I'm back. So I just counted in that little square foot area, there was 28 total plants. Out of those 28 plants, 16 of them had disease on them. So from that, we're going to divide the number of diseased plants by the total plants in that area, and then we're going to multiply that number by 100. So in that case, it was 57% of the plants in that area were diseased. So if I feel that I took a fair measurement that accurately would represent the total area where the outbreak expands to, I might be able to say that 57% of the plants in my planting are diseased. If it's just within a small area like this and your outbreak doesn't extend more, like I said earlier, you want to make note of that. And then if you report it to extension agent or whomever, make sure they're aware. If this whole row was evenly diseased, then what I would recommend is repeat that step maybe 3 or 4 times randomly throughout different points in the plot. Once you do that, then that might give you a better idea of how even the disease spread is throughout. What you could find too, if you feel like it's disease is evenly spread, but once you get down to measuring one end of the plot or the other, and disease is very high or very low, then maybe you can start thinking about why that may be. If the plants are getting extra water at one end or the other, or whatever it could be, you could draw some interesting conclusions from that. The other thing I want to say is, for growers and extension agents, whoever is doing the scouting, always take pictures of disease incidences and outbreaks. Once it's good to have pictures on your own record, just for next season and following seasons, but too, it really helps extension agents and disease clinics and educators, whoever you might ask for recommendations as to what's going on, or how to treat whatever disease outbreaks you have. Photos go a long way, so it's a very important step when you're scouting.